Department of Justice holding this news conference at 1:45 to further announce the arrest of Matthew Farwell in the murder of Sandra Birchmore, the 23-year-old who started as a cadet in the Stoughton Police Department and was, according to the federal government, groomed by Matthew Farwell. He allegedly had sex with her before she was even 16 years old, and they say that on February 1st of 2021, he murdered her, strangled her to death in her Canton, Massachusetts apartment, and then tried to make it look like a suicide. It was initially ruled a suicide before the family cried foul, hired their own private experts to go in and look at the cause of death, and it was only then that it triggered a federal investigation. And here we are. There's a live look at the podium in Boston as we await the results of what has been an extraordinary set of circumstances where this young woman's death has now been reclassified as a murder, and a member of the police department, the local police department in Stoughton, is now in custody. And Jessica, we were talking a bit after this news broke. One would think that this might not be the only arrest, given the fact that cover-up seems to be a part of the equation. In fact, there's really no other way that it could have gotten this far without some sort of cover-up. It would be extraordinary if other people weren't involved, at least on some level.
Absolutely. And, you know, I don't expect that the DOJ will say specifically who they're looking at here, but they're certainly going to use this opportunity to put out a sense of panic, perhaps, to have more people come forward and perhaps try to strike deals and provide more information here. That's often what they will do. And, you know, I think it's very interesting, to your point about that we talked about before with the coroner's report initially ruling this as suicide. How detailed, how much attention was paid to this? Was it just a situation, you know, since it's now come out that there was strangling involved? I mean, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but there are differences in the markings and things that you find around someone's neck when there is even if you thereafter try to pretend that it was a suicide by hanging, and you do go through all those steps, there will be obvious things that make a difference that are factually very difficult to cover up. And unless the coroner was somehow just signing off, oh yes, it's just another young woman who committed suicide, the whole thing is, there's going to be a lot that's going to be coming out here, for sure, and no doubt.
Sandra Birchmore was pregnant at the time of her death. The indictment says that Matthew Farwell was informed that she was pregnant and that he was the father of that baby before he allegedly strangled her to death in her Canton apartment. And we all know all about Canton from the Karen Reed case. This is only going to increase the amount of, distrust within law enforcement. They're just getting ready to, they're just starting the press conference. We're going to sneak in a commercial break here, and then when we come back, we will play it in full, the details surrounding the arrest of Matthew Farwell in the murder of Sandra Birchmore. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott, of course, honored to be with you. We begin with breaking news this afternoon out of Las Vegas, where a jury has reached a verdict in the investigative reporter murder trial. Nearly 12 hours of deliberating have gone by. Now they've reached that verdict. Defendant Robert Tellis is accused of lying in wait to veteran at the home of the veteran reporter Jeff Gehrman before fatally stabbing him and fleeing the scene in a disguise. But Tellis took the stand last week to claim his innocence, saying the evidence connecting him to the murder was planted there by a professional assassin. That verdict is expected to be read in court in just 1 hour, and of course we will take you there as soon as the judge takes the bench. We want to begin, though, first in Massachusetts, where a former police detective has been charged in the death of Sandra Birchmore. Matthew Farwell is accused of killing the 23-year-old after she allegedly became pregnant with his child. According to the indictment, Farwell strangled Birchmore in her apartment and then staged the scene to make it appear as if she had committed suicide. The indictment also goes on to say that Farwell began a sexual relationship with Birchmore when she was only 15 years old. Let's go now to the press conference being held by the U.S. Attorney's Office outside of the federal courthouse in Boston.
Good afternoon. On February 4th, 2021, Sandra Birchmore was found dead in her Canton, Massachusetts apartment. The charges filed today in federal court allege that she was in fact murdered by Matthew Farwell 3 days earlier. At the time of her death, Sandra Birchmore was a 23-year-old woman with her entire life ahead of her, and she was pregnant with her first child. We allege that Sandra Birchmore survived years of grooming, statutory rape, and then sexual violence, all at the hands of Matthew Farwell, who was employed throughout their relationship as an officer and then detective for the Stoughton Police Department. And when it became clear to Mr. Farwell that he could no longer control Sandra Birchmore, he allegedly silenced her permanently. This morning, Matthew Farwell was arrested on a federal grand jury indictment charging him with one count of killing a witness or victim. Specifically, Mr. Farwell is charged with violating Title 18 United States Code 1512 for killing Sandra Birchmore with the intent of preventing her from communicating information about his possible commission of federal crimes. How did this all unfold? What happened here? Well, back in 2010, a 12-year-old Sandra Birchmore applied to join the Stoughton Police Department's Explorers program, which introduces teens to policing. Officer Matthew Farwell was an instructor in that program. And as alleged in court documents, he befriended Sandra Birchmore, contacted her online, went to the library with her, became friends on Facebook, essentially groomed her. And then he committed statutory rape by having sex with her when he was a 27-year-old police officer and she was just 15 years old. Mr. Farwell continued to have a sexual relationship with Sandra Birchmore until her death 8 years later, allegedly meeting her for sex regularly when he was on duty and being paid by the Stoughton Police Department. Now, in the weeks leading up to Sandra Birchmore's death in February 2021, she found out that she was expecting a baby. And she told Mr. Farwell that he was the father. According to court documents, Ms. Birchmore was very excited about becoming a mother, buying baby clothes and other items, taking precautions to ensure the health of her new child. Sandra Birchmore had good friends, she had a good job, she had dreams of becoming a nurse, and she had a child on the way. But Mr. Farwell did not share in that excitement. It's alleged that Mr. Farwell reacted quite negatively to the news that Sandra Birchmore was pregnant with his child. And he acted angrily, it is alleged, when Sandra Birchmore started making requests of Mr. Farwell around doctor's appointments and ultrasounds and what information would be on the birth certificate. Mr. Farwell was losing control in late 2020, early 2021, and the information that Sandra Birchmore possessed about his illegal conduct was in danger of slipping out. In fact, word started to get out about their relationship. Less than 2 weeks before she was found dead, someone called the Stoughton Police Department and disclosed that Matthew Farwell had had a relationship with Sandra Birchmore. And when Mr. Farwell learned about that call, he became visibly angry. Mr. Farwell, it is alleged in these court papers, started to lose his patience, lose his temper, and the 6'4" Mr. Farwell started to be physically violent with 4'10" Sandra Birchmore. And Sandra Birchmore told her friends that Mr. Farwell had pushed her and shoved her and put her in a chokehold. She was scared. And during that same time, Mr. Farwell was allegedly planning Sandra Birchmore's murder. For the first time, he requested a key to her apartment. and she told friends that he was oddly inspecting the apartment and looking at the closet, including the closet that she was found dead in front of. And then it all came to a head on February 1st, 2021. Mr. Farwell went over to her apartment that evening, and he strangled Sandra Birchmore to death. That's the allegation in this case. And he used his knowledge and experience as a law enforcement officer to stage her death to look like a suicide. He allegedly attempted to cover his tracks to literally try and get away with murder. And he almost did, until today. Back in 2021, with the information that was available, Sandra Birchmore's death was ruled a suicide, or deemed a suicide. But over the last year or so, the FBI and our office have been working exhaustively with our state partners, and we've uncovered critical new information, examined the existing information, all of which led to this federal grand jury indictment. If convicted on this charge, Mr. Farwell faces a minimum of life imprisonment. Giving voice to the voiceless, ensuring that no one is above the law, protecting the vulnerable people of Massachusetts, that's the highest calling of people in law enforcement. And this case represents those principles. And every day across Massachusetts, thousands of police officers, federal, state, local law enforcement, put their lives on the line to protect the people of Massachusetts. Mr. Farwell violated those principles, and now he faces very grave consequences. It is disheartening to have to charge law enforcement officers, especially with crimes this serious. But it's our job at the Department of Justice to investigate potential crimes without fear and without favor. We do in this office what we've been doing for decades with our federal partners like the FBI. We follow the facts, regardless of where they lead. We apply the law and the principles of federal prosecution, full stop. We are not influenced by social media chatter. We are not influenced by politics. We're influenced by the facts and the law. Our mission is to do our level best to do justice in every case. And our mission today is to do justice for Sandra Birchmore. Lastly, I want to note that we are sharing the information and the evidence that we developed in this case with the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office, with the Massachusetts State Police, and with the Massachusetts Attorney General's Office, so they can assess whether state charges may be warranted in this situation. And I want to thank those three agencies. I also want to thank the Stoughton Police Department for their assistance in our investigation. Lastly, I want to commend the women and the men of the FBI Boston and Lakeville for their incredible work on this case. This was a dogged investigation. And as you look at the court papers, you'll see exactly how much work has gone into this matter. A huge credit to them, and I particularly want to thank the members of my office, the office I'm proud to lead, the victim witness advocates, paralegals, the chief of our Human Trafficking and Civil Rights Unit, Liz Riley, Assistant United States Attorneys Tori Cummings and Brian Fogarty. This case doesn't happen without their passion for justice. They deserve the credit, not me. Now I want to turn it over to Steve Kelleher, the Assistant Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston.
Assistant Special Agent in charge of FBI Boston. At approximately 10:45 a.m. this morning, the FBI arrested former Stoughton police officer Matthew Farwell for allegedly taking the life of Sandra Birchmore in order to ensure her silence. The FBI SWAT team took him into custody at a shopping plaza in Revere without incident. Immediately following his arrest, we shared this significant development with Sandra's family. We know it does not ease their pain, but hopefully it answers some of their questions. Simply put, this case is about seeking justice for Sandra, who we believe was killed by Matthew Farwell after he allegedly groomed and sexually abused her when she was just 15 years old, violating her body and her civil rights. It's also about keeping Mr. Farwell from getting away with murder and from harming anyone else. We in law enforcement are entrusted with immense authority because our decisions can have life-changing consequences, both good and bad. To temper that power, we must adhere to the highest of ethical standards. What we believe Officer Matthew Farwell did, as outlined in today's indictment, is depraved and a gross betrayal of his sworn oath and the public's trust. Let me be clear. Matthew Farwell's gun and badge did not grant him authority to violate the Constitution, and it certainly didn't entitle him to sexually exploit, abuse, and rape a child before killing her and her unborn baby in an attempt to cover up his alleged crimes. What's also troubling is we believe Matthew Farwell staged Sandra's body and her apartment to make it look like she had died by suicide. And in the days that followed, this sworn police officer repeatedly lied to Massachusetts State Police investigators about the nature of their relationship. It's a stark contrast to the sheer excitement and pure joy that Sandra felt when she told Farwell that she was expecting his child, texting him a photo of a poster she had made celebrating the pregnancy. Our investigation also uncovered additional evidence that is inconsistent with someone choosing to die by suicide. In the hours leading up to Sandra's death, she reached out to a photographer to inquire about booking a newborn photo shoot. She also reached out to a friend about obtaining baby clothes. And at the time that she was in the middle of doing laundry when she died, with a load in the washing machine and another one in the dryer. There's no question this was a complex investigation, and our work is not done. Our agents, analysts, and financial investigators reviewed tens of thousands of text messages, emails, and financial records, conducted dozens of interviews with family, friends, and experts, and analyzed the crime scene. We urge anyone with information about the circumstances surrounding Sandra's death to contact the FBI. Committing murder to eliminate victims and witnesses is heinous, and it shakes the very core of our justice system, which depends on people truthfully testifying to what they know. Today's arrest shows that anyone who tries to interfere and retaliate against victims and witnesses in an attempt to subvert the rule of law will have to answer for it. After all, the public's trust is critical for our justice system to function properly. That's why the FBI will do everything in its power to bring to justice anyone who tries to undermine that trust. Our hearts go out to Sandra, to the Birchmore family, and all who knew and loved Sandra. On behalf of the FBI, I want to thank them for their cooperation, patience, perseverance, and fortitude. I also want to thank our agents and analysts for their hard work and dedication, Acting U.S. Attorney Josh Levy and his team for their partnership, and both Chief McNamara of the Stoughton Police Department and Colonel Mon with the Massachusetts State Police for their assistance in helping us move this investigation forward. Thank you. Next.
And let's take an opportunity to bring in our guest for this hour, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Eric Faddis. Eric, so much to unpack, but boy, I sure do like the FBI is not hiding the ball. They just laid out the evidence, why he has been indicted by a grand jury, why they are going forward on these charges, multiple charges. He was not only a police officer in a community trust position. He had a relationship with her from the time she was 12 because she was part of an Explorers program. So there was that trust position to then exploit her according to the federal indictment, and sexually abuse her and eventually killing her to look like a suicide. It really doesn't get much worse than this if these allegations are true.
Yeah, Judge Ashley, what a harrowing incident here. And as you touched on, it really goes to the center of the public trust in law enforcement. You know, we like to think that we can trust them to protect us, to keep us safe. And then, at least according to these allegations, this officer did the opposite of that. He preyed upon the vulnerability. He engaged in obscene conduct with a minor, and then ultimately led to this murder of this innocent victim, at least according to the allegations. And so I think it's going to have a ripple effect throughout that community, and there's going to be measures law enforcement's going to have to take to regain that trust over time.
Yeah, and you know, I just have to point out the physical vulnerability. She's 4'10", according to the FBI spokesperson. He 6'4". And the other thing I have to say is kudos to this family. They are the ones who pushed it. They said it's not a suicide. They got more reports done. They got more testing done to keep the ball rolling, and then the FBI came in and did their job.